Last time, we covered all of Heavensward, and this time we will be continuing with Stormblood. Stormblood has some very interesting raid tiers. World first of this fight happened in one pull. This fight got one shot by world first. This is just cleaves. He's going to do twin bolt. This is obviously, this is the lightning tether that you want to share with the tanks. He's going to knock people back soon. Does he knock people back? Yeah, down burst is a knockback. So you just get knocked back, you go in, go back out, there you go. And you, as you will see, nothing is happening. The boss is 20% dead. So far, it has been a knockback and a spread. That's it. The twin bolt's the buster share again. The boss is a third dead. He's done spread, stack, and knockback. That's it. This was our first wipe when we were progging Savage here. You know the Charybdis reduces you to 1 HP? The way Bard used to work back then is you would have Troubadour, the mitigation button, and the effect of your Troubadour would change based on what song you were in when you used it, right? And one of those Troubadour effects would boost your max HP. And if you don't know, you might if you've run into it. If you boost your max HP and then it falls off around, like during the cast bar of a 1 HP mechanic, you insta-die. And what we had happen here was it fell off during it and we all fucking hit the mud. That's how we died our first pull in this fight when we were frogging it. Living Dead-esque? Yeah, we all took Living Dead, basically. It was rough. Were people mad about this? I think some were. It was a really weird time to be playing FF14, right? There was a lot of discourse about difficulty, more so than you get now. Because Savage raids, or raiding in general, had been something that was expected to be very difficult, and it was anticipated that not everyone would be able to clear, right? That was just the standard. Going through Coil, and then you get Gordius, which was a very hard raid tier, and came close to decimating the raiding scene of the game, because it was just a rough raid tier. It was difficult. And a lot of people fell off raiding in those times. Especially because you had Living Liquid going into Oppressor back-to-back. And then you had Midas, which was another really hard raid tier, but it felt a lot fairer. And then you would go into Creator. It had very different fight design. There were a lot more innate mechanics, and a lot more telegraphing. And the fights were a lot less punishing from Creator. And you saw that in the clear speed, right? Gordius took over a month. Midas took 2.5 weeks, and then Creator took 3 days. And then you come over to Delta, and a lot of people were speculating how they were going to design the fights. Are they going to be, and I'm quoting here, are they going to be easy like Creator, quote unquote, or are they going to be hard like older fights? Obviously, we know which side they decided to lean on. The way they decided to lean was we want to make Savage a bit more accessible. So there was a subset of people that was very mad. But I think many understood that you can never do another Gordius, because Gordius, despite having some really interesting fights, did nearly kill FF14 raiding. You can't do another Gordius. So maybe you're starting to understand why this was easily one-shottable, because it is literally just spread or stack with close or far and some knockbacks. That's the whole fight. And it also doesn't have a DPS check. So you can just zombie through it. My goat! My goat! No! To be fair, he was in that. Look. He's in it. And then he slides. He's dead. He was definitely in it. This fight is either skip it in weeklies or it's okay, I guess. I think it's probably skip it in weeklies. Especially when you consider what it has alongside it. Thinking about it, I cannot rate it as well as these fights. I think it's refurbisher level. Okay, so this is the first ever duty action. You can press the anti-gravity gimbal to go up, and some mechanics require you to be up, and others require you to be down. You can't manually go down, but periodically these icons will appear on people. I think it's always on tanks, and if you stand in it, you go down. There is one more mechanic I want to showcase. It's this one. Okay. So all supports or all DPS will get this debuff, which means they're going to explode soon. So the way you will deal with this is the boss is going to slam people for the stack. And if you're up, you get knocked back. If you're down, you don't. So you would just do an 8-man stack, and the people with the explosions would get knocked back. I thought this was a really cool mechanic when I did it. I'm gonna be real. I thought it was a really cool mechanic. I don't know why. Man, this is gonna ruin these fights for me because I like this fight, but I don't know if I can rate it above it's okay. I guess I don't think I can rate it. It's good. Can I? It's either okay or good. I think it's okay. It's okay, I guess. Now we're going to come up to one of my favorite fights. These happen quite a lot, Spellblade Holies. The people who are tethered are going to swap places. So if you want to be in the stack, you need to be on the spread tethered to him. The boss's tank buster is called Critical Hit, and it always crits. And tanks at the time had awareness that would force non-crits. Critical Hit. This stuff's all pretty simple. Oh, she does the white flame. I forgot about that. Yeah, this fight hits really hard for tanks. There's busters like constantly. I think I know the reason I like this fight actually. This fight is the earliest and best example of current FF14 design philosophy being implemented well. Where it is a dance that is execution based and fun to both do and learn, while still being simple to understand and not overcomplicated. This is like an amazing example of a fight that everything makes sense. It's really fun to learn and satisfying to execute, and it's a dance. And this is one of the first times they did it right, I think. Is the white flame up? Yeah, the white flame just does tank busters, but it hits really hard. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this person took one hit from the white flame, and now they're going to do forced marches. The boss is going to jump center, and they're going to do forced marches. Blue is good, everything else is bad. Dragon, kill. She did a ribbit at some point. She either already did it or she's about to do it. Ribbit's just a cleave that you dodge. See, here's the buster, the critical hit. Bro is LDing it. These guys are going to dash for line AoEs, and there's 3 of them. I think they're going to see that there's one here, maybe, or... Yeah, I think the third one will be here behind them, which will result in this being safe. Either that... or the third one is over here to the right, and it dashes through here, which means this one's safe. They're staying here, so it means that the other ad must be here to the right on the wall, and it's going to dash through here. I think we'll play this bit out. This bit's cool. This is just like dodge AoEs, basically, but it's cool. And they kill the ad, the panda. There's like busters and gazes and puddles, and it's pretty simple, but it's cool. You see what I mean, though? Like, everything that's happening is really simple. You'll see it, and you'll understand in 1 or 2 calls. But it's really fun to do. That's what makes this fight so good. These guys 4 people get spread markers, and they're going to take the solo books, which give them physical defense. It gives them a Von down for physical. And then the other guys, there'll be 2 stack markers and 2 nothings, and they're going to take the stacks together. And it will give them, they get magic Von downs from the books. Now it's time. Okay, so this is Animal Farm. There's 3 types of animals. So you need players to get hit. You'll do tanks and healers and DPS would get 1 animal each. So people would need to fail a mechanic sequentially. This mechanic was cool. Except healers got cucked and always had to get animaled first. There's 1 more mechanic after this, I think, before repeats. Yeah, here. So this is like a combination mechanic. You don't want to be in the middle. You want to stretch the tethers. You're going to forced march, and these guys are going to dive across the sides. A lot of stuff going on at once. Basically, you'll usually want to end up in these corners. These are like the safe spots. It's kind of a solo mechanic, really. And then the boss will jump. And Bramble, if it lands on Bramble, it'll be stretch tethers. If it lands on blue, it'll be get to the blue. Bro goes for the GCD. That's my go. That's my go. He goes for it. And yeah, that's the fight. That's the fight. I think Halicarnassus, I don't know if it's brute justice. I don't think it's brute justice, but it is great. I think it's great. I think we should remove the I guess, because it's okay. I think it's great is fair for Halicarnassus. Okay, so this is the first real door boss that FF14's ever had. We're not going to count Faust as a real door boss. And we have to rate them separately because of that. So this fight is pretty short. I think it's about 4 minutes long. 3 or 4. And it only has a few mechanics. He will imbue himself with dual casts. And when he does, mechanics are pretty dangerous. So Thunder, when he has dual cast, will hit twice and gives the Thunder debuff. So you have to tank swap or invuln. When he dual casts fire, obviously they're going to hit twice as well, and they'll hit different players. He also does White Hole, which is a max HP mechanic. People used to always mold because the white hole would like snapshot before the end of the cast bar a little bit if you had ping. Decisive Battle is just knock back and move forehead. These tentacles are going to go off in a particular order. So you just follow the order to not get hit by the whip. And then it's going to be meteors. And then here he'll do fire, ice, or thunder. Thunder is out. Fire is pyretic, like don't move, sorry. And ice is keep moving. Pretty simple. White hole again. The main mechanic is what's next, though. It's the black hole. I think it's always the supports, actually. Is it always supports, then DPS, then supports? I think it might be. 4 people get black holes. But at the same time, there will be puddles on other people, and then it will go into a stack. And this would become a clusterfuck very easily because... Oh yeah, and these guys got fires as well while they're coming in. Because if you would have 2 people run into each other, you could easily cut somebody off with these. So what there are a few strats. There was one where you'd pull the boss into the middle and have quadrants. And then there'd be another one, which was like this. Where you would kind of have quadrants. The tanks would go like close left and close right, and the healers would go far left and far right. And then you like collapse into the middle for the stack and walk towards the boss. And then there's another white hole coming, and it just repeats until, I think it repeats one more time. And then on the 3rd time, it's Enrage. I think this is sub 60. I think you have to give it a legacy point and put it in good, because I honestly think this is what door bosses should be. I think that door bosses in FF14 right now are over bloated and too long. 8-minute door boss is a bit much, and I preferred when they were 3 or 4 minutes, and I think that this encapsulates the concept of a door boss really well. It has like 3 mechanics. The mechanics are all challenging, they're fast-paced, and then it has a really cool transition. So I think it does... I was debating between it's okay and it's good. It has to be good based on that, I think. Also, this was the first, like... Brute Justice was the first hidden phase. This was the first hidden fight, where we get to witness the miracle of birth. When your child comes out of the womb and hits you with the "then I too can disappear forever." Pepe hands. Okay, Almagest, which he does a lot, is a raid wide with a dot, and the dot hits really hard. It's scary. Okay, so Flood of Naught is you see these guys here. 3 people get Allagan Field. You need other people to block for them, basically. But you'll get a tank, a healer, and a DPS. This is also a wild charge. So you want tanks at the front. So you need the tank without the debuff at the front, then the tank with the debuff, then the people without the debuff, then the people with the debuff. Which is a cool little positioning test. These are stillnesses. And then everyone has a color. Go to the opposite one. That like... Here. These are the Allagan Fields going off, and they'll pulse damage based on how much you took. Presuming that the setup is correct, though, with the Allagan Fields at the back and the Allagan Field tank second, you'll be fine. Everyone would just invuln this double attack. Well, not everyone. A lot of people would invuln this double attack. It doesn't knock back. It's supposed to be a shared buster that knocks people back. These are Exaflares. These are the original Exaflares. And it'll be Exaflares on either center or sides. Reaper Chicken, my goat. Yeah, and he plays Paladin. Imagine if he's still playing the game to this day and he swapped to Reaper back in Endwalker. What else do they do here? The other main mechanic of this fight is Beyond Death, which is these debuffs. If you get Beyond Death, you need to die. So you see these guys drop to 1 HP because they take a mechanic that should have killed them. That's Beyond Death. And a lot of this is repeats. The way this fight works in general is it'll be... He'll do a Grand Cross, and then he'll do filler. And then he'll do a Grand Cross, and then he'll do filler for like half the fight. And then the fight repeats. After you've done some Grand Crosses, you'll come to these. You just kill these. Forehead. There's a Charybdis. One thing that's very important about this fight, actually, is this fight came right after Red Mage released. And Red Mage broke the progression of this raid tier, especially this fight, to the point where the fastest groups in the world were running sometimes double Red Mage, and they were raised cheesing to the point where they were getting to see the entire fight within like an hour, just because they would raise cheese everything. They would just raise spam everything, to the point where no raid tier had died in under like 3 days ever in FF14 history, and this raid tier I think took 16 hours or 18 hours or something. Like, it died day one. It was the first raid tier to ever die day one. And I think like the main reason it died as quick as it did was Red Mage being able to raise on command. So we're all just repeating here. This is like the quote-unquote hard mechanic of the fight here, halfway through, Grand Cross Omega. So this is like a lot of micro mechanics back to back. We've got Allegan Fields. We've got these lightning things are spreads. We've got Beyond Deaths. We have a water stack. I can't even fucking remember what these are. I think these do circle AoE. They do like rings, so you need to be close to people or something. Water stack and spreads. Then you're going to do colors and more colors. And this guy's going to do mid or sides. And the Beyond Deaths need to proc their Beyond Death. And then you need to, I think the stillness is here. The stillnesses go off here. There's a gaze. Oh yeah, that's what these are. These are cursed shrieks. They're gazes. See, these guys. So you need to look away from the guys that have these while standing still. And then you have to deal with the Allegan Fields. And it goes from Allegan Field into Almagest, I'm pretty sure. And the Allegan Fields explode halfway through the Almagest cast to make it even harder. This is like the hard mechanic of the fight. Although there was a strategy that many people employed, which was they would just keep the healer alive and let the Allegan Fields drop, keep the healer alive, and then heal LB3. That's what a lot of people did, like, after the first few weeks. You know, in the A12 section, I said that they just started repeating fights because of the A12S debacle. Well, here we are. Now the fight repeats. They just repeat the whole fight. This is the fight all over again. This is all the same from 48% all the way down to like 16 or something. We'll go back a bit here. This is still repeating, by the way. This is the first mechanic of the fight. This is where it starts being new again. 48 down to 17% is a repeat. And then it goes to Neverwhere, which is 1 HP, and then Enrage starts. Sorry. After Neverwhere is Charybdis, and that's 1 HP, and then Enrage starts. So it literally repeats into Enrage. He's just going to keep doing this until he hits 16 stacks. And around about 10 to 12 is where healers need to start being careful, I think. Up until this point, it's quite chill. This is where it starts getting a bit sketchier, and you're like, okay, we got to be safe because the slaps are going to hurt more. I actually think we have to rate Neo Exdeath the same as Exdeath. Is that bad? I don't think it's a great fight, but I do like it. I have a big problem with all of Stormblood fight design, and that is the repeats. I think the way that it repeats, literally, because for reference, Kefka and Final Omega all do this too. They all repeat at 40%. They just repeat. And I hated it. I fucking hated it. Brute Justice is for the best of the best. Living Liquid's there too. He's Brute Justice as well. These are both Brute Justice. It was my number one pet peeve. And I think Neo Exdeath could have been great if it had a second half of the fight, but it's half a fight, so we can't rate it above good, I don't think. I remember this fight, actually, before we start, this fight was the most padded fight probably in FFLog's history, and I mean it. What people used to do in this fight, about halfway through, there is an ad phase, and I mean it, this is a thing that would happen. They would have one guy pad on the ads whilst everyone else AFKs, and you could get like 40 seconds of unadulterated AoE pad on the fucking ads, and your log would look disgraceful. Unfortunately, I never got the chance to do it, but it sounds fun. First of all, there are these ghosts. There are ghosts in jails here. The jails you can just use to block yourself. If you push into the ghost, it is a solid object, and it acts as an arena hazard, or an advantage depending on what mechanic you're dealing with. But the main mechanic that it teaches you of the fight are that these beacons of light will destroy ghosts, and you'll use that to your advantage at multiple times in the fight. That's what it teaches you right away. This guy right here, he is the bane of the Final Fantasy XIV player. He is the monster under the bed. This guy will just fucking kill you if you don't know he exists. He spawns off a cast bar, He is an untargetable ad that spawns often behind where the player is, just on the side of the arena, and he just does a knockback. And this always gets people, man. Even here, on content, in a clear party, it still gets someone. It still gets someone. Might I make a note that this was in a time when not everybody had a knockback prevention. So if you get caught by a ghost, you get taken into jail, like the Bard. See, he touches the ghost, and now he gets taken into a solo jail. You're not supposed to touch the ghost. And you'll see here, this is an example of the light deleting the ghosts. It's a very simple fight. There's stacks, spreads, chains, meteors, and otherwise it's like ghost puzzles, but all of the puzzles are pretty simple. So these are just going to, for example, I think these are the tether ones. These are just going to follow players. You're going to place a light AoE on the floor. 2 other people are going to place them on the floor, and you need to kite the ghosts into the light jails to destroy them. You hear? It is a really fun first turn, and I do think it somewhat encapsulates what is good about first turns in this game nowadays, which is that they are... Good first turns in this game are easy to understand and learn, but varied. This is the pad phase, okay? Right here. Right here is the pad phase. You would genuinely get parties that would let one person pad on these. It was insane. How do we call this the most nothing mechanic ever? You run up on the train. This is cool, to be fair. For the time, this was very cool. Dynamic arenas were not really a thing until more recently. So this was very interesting. Yeah, we're going to talk about the ad skip in a minute. So the most interesting interaction that this fight has is in relation to these guys, right? There are going to be 8 ghosts, and they'll do 3 different types of jails. There's a healer one, a tank one, and a DPS one. But if you kill one of the jails before the others fully activate, all of them despawn. And there were a few ways you could manage this. You can hop inside and melee LB. Alternatively, if you had either gear or a very competent player, a ninja or a red mage or a warrior with inner release could go in and insta-fucking gib a DPS ad, and that would just skip the mechanic for everybody else. Nobody else would have to do it. I don't know if any other jobs could do it, but I know that red mage, ninja, and warrior could do it. They had enough burst. I'm pretty sure you only get about 3 GCDs to do enough damage in order to skip it for everyone else. So it's basically jobs that can put out insane damage in like 3 GCDs, 2 or 3 GCDs. So red mage would have like flesh and contra 6 and like their most powerful GCDs. Ninja would stockpile their Bavakakras, and warrior would inner release and do like 3 fell cleaves. Oh yeah, there's also isn't there an Easter egg in the normal mode version of this? I'm pretty sure there is, right? There's an Easter egg where sometimes instead of a ghost you get Siegfried. 3, 2, 1, 0, gone. Oh, he was 1 second early. He was 1 second early. Okay, so where do we put Phantom Train? I want to look at the other first turns to see where we place it. So this Alte Roite was another first turn, and we thought that was arse. Refurbisher was another first turn, and we thought that was arse. Ratfink's Twinkledinks is the highest rated first turn so far, and I think it is probably on par with Ratfink's Twinkledinks. I don't think it's better. So I don't think I can rate it in it's good, so it has to... in it's great, so it has to be it's good or it's okay. I think it's good. So this guy doesn't even spawn at the start of the fight. But luckily we can explain the core mechanic of this fight without even pulling the boss. So you have a duty action. They brought back the duty action for this. You can paint on any of these platforms, and each one will have a different color. Depending on which one you paint, you will have a different effect. You can see old machinist here with the ammo system and the old heat gauge. He's holding flame. Yeah, I forgot that. He used to hold flamethrower in his opener to get ticks of his gauge to do his burst. I remember. He's holding flamethrower, And now he continues his burst because he's picked up enough gauge to do so. Holy shit, old machinist. And when you finish your burst, you kill your turret. Oh, it's crazy. I forgot that. So basically what the boss will do is he will tether to paintings and possess them. And that will mean that he imbues whatever the effect is from the painting, and you'll use the paintings on the floor to counter that. But he also has a... Someone will explain the lore. I don't know. There's a copy of him. There's a lady ghost as well that will sometimes do things. And you saw her a minute ago. See here? And she's flying off into the other one. So she's going to do something over there soon enough. So he's flown into the fire painting, which means he's going to make the floor lava. What do you do if the floor is lava? Obviously, you collect the water debuff so that you don't die. That's how the puzzles in this fight work, basically. People used to four-man this, right? Yeah, you can... Wait, no, they used to tank invuln this. I remember. This is a classic case of the Final Fantasy XIV uptime conundrum. You can take a stack as a group, but you might have to detach from the boss, or you can tank invuln it, which is what they used to do. I remember. They used to tank invuln that. Is there anything else happening for a while? There's like tether soon, right? Demonic Shear is a tank buster. Okay, so here we go. Here's the tether of this ad. If you look at him, he can't move. He can only move when you're looking away. They haven't figured this out yet. So they're doing this. Okay, well, let me just make it clear. This is not what you have to do. You just look at him and he can't move. He can only move when you're not looking. I respect this. There's also a gaze coming from the lady at this time. Now what they're about to do, this is what kind of differentiates Savage from normal. Because he's going to tether multiple paintings, they're going to need to correctly order multiple effects, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to pick up the water buff, and then they're going to become airplanes to deal with both of these. So they've picked up fire resistance, they've popped it, which gives them a 20-second fire resistance buff, and then they're going to go to the other one. People used to giga uptime greed this. If you're in the sky because you're a plane, the earthquake doesn't affect you. Okay, so you see everybody gets this debuff here. This debuff leeches all of your MP. We'll go back and play it again. They get this debuff, it leeches all of their MP, and then the Siren regenerates their MP. And it follows up immediately with a raid wide. So if you're too slow and you haven't pre-mitigated, the boss will do a double raid wide and cost you. So I don't know if this is a hot take, but I must admit, I didn't like this fight on content. And I don't think it's grown on me now. I don't think it's skip it in weeklies tier, but it's definitely not good. I thought this fight was considered a striking dummy on patch, and I agree with that. And I also think it is the worst fight of Sigmascape by a mile. And I don't think I can rate it better than okay, because the mechanics that it has are all very simple. They're incredibly scripted. There's almost no RNG. And it's not very fun to do, I'm going to be honest. I think at best it's okay. The only reason it's not in skip it in weeklies tier is because we reserve that for the lowest of the low. If there was a tier below okay that was mid as fuck, Demon Chadarnook would go in it. You've probably recognized this from other fights. They do this in other fights. What he will do is he will summon a monster on the TV screen, and then that monster will play out a phase of mechanics. And one of those phases was way better than the other one for uptime. So in speedruns, if you got the wrong monster phase first, you would just reset. These preys are just going to drop orbs, and the orbs are going to pulse explosions. Okay, these missiles... Wait, I forgot about these. These missiles are like the most interval mechanic I can think of. For some reason, the scariest thing for a Final Fantasy XIV player to deal with is a very slowly moving object in a straight line, because people would always get hit by this shit. Always. Look at how slow they're moving. They're going at 5 meters per second. They're fucking grandmas. See that right there? There's Daddy Luma. The off-tank's going to pick him up. And he's going to target people and shoot beams. And at the same time, Guardian is going to be shooting beams. What they're doing right here is crazy, I'm going to be real. The thing that everyone would do is tank them together so that you could easily dodge both. But, I mean, if it works, it works. His beam applies a dot, and the dot is pretty rough. So you want to kill him quickly so that less people get the dot. You would always get people blaming lag for the missiles. This was a very standard strat for the praise here as well, which is if the DPS or healer gets the prey, the tank would cover them if you had a paladin. Classic case of paladin getting to do something cool that nobody else could do. Oh, it's time. The missile simulation. The most dangerous mechanic the game has ever seen. Slow-moving missiles. They are coming for you. So this is the Air Force program that got skipped later. That got skipped earlier. It's coming back now. It targets the DPS, and you just have to face them out and kill them. They're basically jails. And there will... have the bombs spawned? Or are the bombs about to spawn? There we go, bomb deployment. You have to detonate them safe. You have to disarm them before the timer runs out. The way you disarm them is very simple. One side glows, and you have to touch it from that side. There we go. So on this side, the blue one glowed, so you need to walk into it from the blue side. And on this one, the red one glowed, so you need to walk into it from the red side, and you can only do one bomb. This is the scary mechanic in the middle that people... If you got through this, you probably cleared it, at least in Party Finder. Some people will have tethers, which means they need to be either close or far from one another, depending on which tethers they got. I think it's always a support... I think it's always a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS. And it's always the ranged DPS, actually. Like, this is fixed. This isn't random. I think a healer, a tank, and both of the ranged always get the Searing Winds, and they need to run to the corners. And then the other 4 people will get you see the sad boy here, the debuff that's like, I don't even want to be around anymore. It's that debuff. And that's abandonment, and you need to be with another player. And then there is also an Allagan Rot, which you will need to sequentially trade through the group. So basically, you've got 4 people who have to be apart, 4 people who have to be with somebody else, an Allagan Rot that will need to be carefully traded, and soon enough, these tethers are going to pull or push. So all of this is going to play out at once. So there we go, the far guys get pulled, the close guys get pushed, but they need to be pushed in such a way that they end up close to somebody else, and that the Allagan Rot guy can trade to his buddy. So I think you're probably going to see this here. I think these are the 2... you see them run to each other, and you'll see the Rot trade to the Ninja. So there we go. The Rot's traded, and now he's done with Rot. And then they're going to spend the next, 30 seconds trading the Rot, because you can't let the Rot hit 0. I can't remember what happens if you let the Rot hit 0, but I'm sure it's bad. So there we go. Now the Scholar has taken the Rot, and they're just gonna juggle it until it's over. And now the Astro's taken the Rot. And I'm pretty sure the mechanic's over soon. They might do one more trade, but you don't need to go through everybody. I don't know where I would rate Guardian. I think the thing about Guardian is that it is greater than the sum of its parts, because it's really fun to do, even if all of the mechanics are EX trial mechanics. I think it's paced very well, and it has high damage. It was actually a really interesting fight for tanks and healers, because they liked to use damage over time a lot, and they would use single target damage over time to bait out your instants. And it would give a lot of options for tank buddy mitigations, and also for healers single target, which was not something that was really well explored up until then. I think it's good. I think it's the same as Phantom Train. His main thing is that he's a liar. So sometimes he will tell the truth with his mechanics, and sometimes he will lie with his mechanics. For example, here, he's going to do a stack marker, Flagrant Fire. But because it is question marked, that means he's a liar. So the stack marker is actually a spread. But if he wasn't lying there, it would actually be a stack. That's how a lot of this fight plays out. He does a tank buster, where he throws the frying pan at people. Throws the frying pan. But this also means that because he did question marks here, that these are a lie. Which means that the safe spots are the intersection between 2 lines. So here, 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 and here. So this trio is pretty simple. We'll wait and see. Okay, so these line AoEs, the tethers stretching from the statue behind the boss that the guy doesn't look at, these are going to knock you back. You're going to be dodging AoEs, and also taking line AoE beams, and then doing pair stacks. It's pretty simple. Okay, so everyone gets a tether here. If I remember rightly, the way this works is that the untethered guys take gravitas pair stacks, and then the tethered guys after will get rocks thrown at them that knock anybody who isn't them away. So you will stack, then spread, then stack, then spread. And there's going to be left-right cleaves at the same time. So it was stack, then spread, then left, then stack, then spread. And then this guy is going to do a knockback, which people always got hit by for some reason. I like that all of the downtimes here are really fast. There's no like slow 50-minute downtimes. It's all like 20 seconds. So now the statue is either going to tell the truth or lie, which means you need to look at or away from the statue. So that statue is telling the truth, so you do need to look away from it. There we go. And now, you see there's the angel, and I guess the devil? I don't fucking know. Don't ask me, lore. You need to see which one you are tethered to. This is role-based, so it's pretty easy. One of them will put you to sleep, and one of them will make you walk towards allies and hit them real hard. So you want to send the punchers to the edge and the sleepers to the middle. And you need to make sure to not sprint, because obviously your movement speed is affected by sprint, and you might zoom in and bop somebody. And then you need to look at the statue, because it is a lie. I think that this tier is interesting because it came right after the first ever Ultimate, right? UCOB came out right before this raid tier. And I can imagine the players that did UCOB and then came into this were like, Jesus Christ. This is so simple compared to Cobbers. I'm dead. Yeah, you are, buddy. I'm sorry. It's rough out here. Okay, so where do we rate Kefka? I have a soft spot in my heart for Kefka. So I know that my thought would be to put him in great, because I think this is, again, like Exdeath, a really good door boss. It is admittedly quite long. There's like a 6-minute 30 door boss. But I think his mechanics are really fun, and I think he's well-paced, and that the downtime mechanics don't overstay their welcome. I don't like really long downtime mechanics. I prefer when they're shorter. I think we'll put it in great. I think this is a great fight. So one thing I remember about this tank buster, Hyperdrive, so it's a tank buster that applies a dot, but you can zero out this tank buster with a buffed Adler, and then you don't get the dot. And then we're going to come into the first Forsaken, and then I'm going to spend a few minutes glazing Forsaken. Okay, so Heartless Archangel starting. So there are 3 towers, right? Players need to soak these towers in pairs, which means you need 6 people to soak the 3 towers. But there are some other things happening at the same time. First of all, Heartless Archangel is a HP check. If you're not full HP, you will be getting a debuff regardless, but if you're not full HP, your debuff will be worse. You'll be getting a 4-second debuff that means you cannot receive healing for 4 seconds. If you're not full HP going into it, you'll be getting a debuff that means you cannot receive healing for 10 seconds. And then the other factor is these 4 skulls that go on DPS. They're going to fly towards the DPS that's tethered to them and explode for an AoE around them that does damage. Your test as a healer is you come into a raid wide, and then you need to instantly top everyone, and you need to prepare mitigation and or spike healing to make sure that players are able to take these skulls. So now everyone's 1 HP, no healing, take the towers, the debuffs have gone because everybody was full HP, and then you spike heal, you pop, and now the boss is going to do a close far tank buster. And then it instant raid wides and repeats. So now you've just healed everyone, you've mitigated a raid wide, now get everyone topped again, and prepare to spike heal them again, straight away, take heads again, and here's a giga fucking raid wide. This raid wide's scary as well. So we are 2 minutes into the fight, and the Scholar's MP is gone. This was my first raid tier on Scholar, actually, as well. This was the first tier that I progged on Scholar. And yeah, you are playing a game with your mana in this fight. I think if you want to have a good time as a healer, go do this fight at min-eye level, because even now, even with the fact that minimum item level is way easier than on content, it's still fun as fuck to heal. So there's 2 towers, which are obviously soaked in pairs, just like the first Forsaken. There are 2 Preys. I believe these are ranged baited. This group clearly didn't know that at the time. you could definitely bait these on the range DPS and the caster. And then the DPS that are not baiting praise will be baiting puddles. The praise are also going to drop puddles. These are meteor puddles. These are the other DPS puddles. What people would often do, obviously this is probably a weak 1 kill or a blind prog, something like that. What they would often do, they bait these on the range, and the range would go west and east and then rotate north. And then the melee would stay here, and they'd rotate around the boss with their puddles. Well, unfortunately, the samurai is throwing magical hits. And then for the supports, there's another future or past cast. And clones are going to kick the supports, and then they'll do either a frontal kick or a back kick, depending on the cast. So you would bait the clones to the outer edge of the arena, and then you would have to face them inwards or outwards based on which cast you got. And then the DPS will come and take this tower after doing their baits. Here are the clones. You see them all kicking. And then, immediately after, pair tower, into pair tower, into pair tower, into stack. So now that you know all the components, let's just play out the mechanic real quick. It's so much shit going on for Stormblood. There's baits and towers, there's clone drops now, and then there's clone baits, and then there's a stack tower for the DPS, and then there's going to be pair towers going off now, and then more pair towers going off now, and then stack right after into Giga Raid White. It's like so much shit for Stormblood. This is my favorite fight in all of Stormblood, and I think it goes in Brute Justice too. To say it bluntly and upfront, I think this fight is amazing. As a healer, I'm biased, but this is one of the most well-designed healing fights in the game. So, as I take a bite of yogurt, we have our third entry to Brute Justice tier, and our first from Stormblood. So, if you're here to kill Chaos, I hope that you succeed. This guy also, he is like Guardian as well. He has 2 patterns. So he can do the lightning pattern first or the fire pattern first, and it will give you a completely different phase. See, they got Tsunami, which is what I call the thunder pattern. Wait, I remember something, actually. So, this mechanic is very simple, right? It is a proximity. So, you would think, obviously, pull him to the wall. What I remember that people started doing with gear is they started making this a marker mechanic, because the boss is going to leap to the proximity. That's where the damage comes from. So, instead of going to the wall, they would put a marker, like, here-ish. And that is where you could safely stand with mitigation, so that the people with gap closers could still be in range to gap close to the boss. That's what people used to do, I remember. You do have to get behind him, because this is a front cleave. Man, this is the era of Paladin where Goring Blade is just a combo button. It's not a cooldown. You can just use it. Be your own boss. Okay, so this dynamic fluid buff means that you're going to do a donut when it goes off, so you need to be stacked. One of these is a full HP mechanic, and one of these is a minimum HP mechanic. So for 4 people, it's Beyond Death, and for the other 4, it's Heal to Full. I'm going to assume for the supports, it's Heal to Full, because they just got rid of the debuffs. See these? That means these ones are Heal to Full, and these ones are get hit by a mechanic because you need to die. So he knocks you back, he's going to do longitudinal or latitudinal, which is just dodges, and the DPS will need to get hit by it because they need to be Beyond Death. So supports get healed to full, DPS prepare to die, and these are pair stacks, and they drop stuff. You will see what they drop in a moment. There we go. But you could have gotten this at the start of the fight, and Tsunami now. You can get either or. So this is where you learn about the fires that you've already done in the halfway point that will knock back people who touch them and do a circle AoE. Which I think is actually quite interesting for prog, right? Because it means that whilst you can get to the halfway point of the fight by only learning one pattern, the pieces that you need to solve the halfway point properly come from both patterns. So you have to understand both before you get the knowledge to easily get through the halfway point. Was Red Mage broken during Stormblood, like Picto level, or is it because of a raise? Red Mage was competitive with other casters, and it had raise. So it was pretty good. But it wasn't doing like more damage than the others, but it also wasn't giga low. This was also when double fizz ranged was not inting. So it wouldn't be weird to see 3 ranged either via 2 casters or 2 fizz ranged. Double melee was still good, don't get me wrong, but you wouldn't feel like I think many people do now, where if you took double fizz range, you'd be like, man, oh god, this is rough. That wasn't really the case. Okay, so I think this fight is great, actually. I think this is a really strong first turn. I think it's a very fun fight. I think both the permutations are fun, and I think the fact that there are multiple permutations is fun. And I think it was a good experiment into doing that for first turns. So Midgardsomr's gimmick is simple. He is going to do 2 things back to back. Those things can either be a spin or a roll. And so you'll end up with, say, spin spin, or spin roll, or roll spin, you know, like that. And each permutation means that a specific mechanic is going to happen. So it might be plus AoE, or X AoE, or in, or out. So you need to learn what each permutation does. And then there'll be other mechanics happening at the same time later on. Can we just say, by the way, Dark Arts, Dark Arts, Dark. Oh, I forgot this Dark Knight existed. Dark Arts again. Dark Arts buffs your next GCD, basically. This is going to give the guy who picks it up a buff. I think it's called the Aegis, I don't really know. Oh, Arcane Bulwark, yeah, that's it. Shield. So the way the shield works is quite simple. It protects you from damage, but it is essentially like having a giga shield on, and it will slowly be eaten by taking damage in general, and you can trade it to other players, and you will need to use it to survive hits that would otherwise insta-kill you, whilst making sure not to get hit by unnecessary things that eat it too early. He's standing separate because he doesn't want to accidentally trade the debuff. Whereas he is intentionally standing in the AoE because he can forehead. Okay, the mechanic's about to happen soon. See this prey? The boss is going to fire breath the people with prey. So they want to A, not hit anyone else, and B, have Divine Bulwark. And this is going to happen in sequence, so people... This guy is standing on 1 so that he can trade the buff. And then the guy is going to run through, grab the buff, go to B. And then he's going to move back to 1. The next guy is going to come through, grab the buff, go to B. And you're going to do that in a cycle. People would mess this up all the time. And you see that when you have traded the Bulwark, you get a debuff that means that you can't take it back, which is why he avoided taking it until... He avoided letting it trade until now. Bulwark trading is so janky. It is just like trading a tether. Which means, yeah, it can be pretty jank. And now you're going to use the end of the Bulwark. I'm sketchy on how this works because it's been so long, but I believe this tether is the boss about to do a hot tail. So he'll do a line AoE through this tether, and these fireballs go off at the same time. So the group is going to need to find a safe spot and bait puddles, whereas the Bulwark guy is going to want to bait the tail away from them and take the giga damage. Let's see if I'm right. There we go. And now the Bulwark's gone. I think it's okay. I don't think it... Because I like all of these fights, everything here and above, I'm excited if I get to do it. Everything here, I'm not. And I'm not excited if I get to do Midgardsomr. I think that's reasonable. Let's do 011 now. Flamethrower is just Protean and then rotate. That's it. It's just going to hit twice. The mechanic that shows the disparity between English localization and Japanese localization. Because in Japanese, it's called left and right, apparently. It's just called left and right. Whereas here we get starboard and larboard. Didn't Koji almost get fired because of that? I didn't hear anything about that. Maybe. I had no idea. The The puzzle for the hands is quite simple. The hands are going to slam the ground with a small circle AoE a few times in a row. You want to make 2 hands of different colors slam together. Oh my god, I just skipped like way far ahead. And at the end of it all, it drops a little buff for you. And you can stand in this when they go off if you do it correctly, which I think is what he's going to do. There's a lot of repeats here, so this is going to be flamethrowers, but also you drop puddles this time. This is a mechanic that... Sorry, this is a fight that's really good at building on itself. Oh, this mechanic here is cool, actually. You can't really see it from this POV, but you see here there's a tether. There we go. So this tether is going to do a big circle AoE on the person who takes it, and it is going to reduce their max HP for the next, like, I don't know, 15 seconds or something. Which means that you need to give them personal mitigation for the raid wides. Should see the paladin take it here. See, he goes small HP, small baby HP. And you see the melee DPS has 55,000 health. He has 17,000. Which means that he needs some kind of protection just to survive the raid wides. These fists look really interesting, but they're not. This was a marker mechanic. People would just put down markers a certain number of tiles inwards. You stand on them, you get pushed to the other side. Everyone else goes in the middle. This was I think this was the mechanic that had permutations that people spent ages trying to figure out. I swear that was this mechanic. People thought it was random at first, but it was fixed based on instance, and it turned out to be player ID linked. So if you played with the same group of people, you would always get the same permutation, but if you played with somebody different, you could get a different pattern. That was this mechanic, I think. But this is pretty simple. I suppose it has deceptive depth to it. It's not like a Giga mechanic by any means, but healers had short-range heals at this point, and it will knock 4 people away whilst reducing their health fairly significantly, and then it will be followed up by a stack that they need to get into. So it was like a tight timing for healing, but it wasn't particularly scary. Did we miss the... Yeah, it's here. Okay. So the boss is going to update here, which is essentially he's going to buff himself for the rest of the fight. So, for example, when he does his flamethrower, it will now give everybody burns. And then when he does his larboard or starboard, he will do a surge instead of just the cast, which will mean he will immediately do the other one. Let's see if these guys tank LB this mechanic or if they do it. So this is a very heavily cheesed mechanic. It's going to be the fists again, but they don't have different colors this time. And you just need to go fist, 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 and take 2 at a time sequentially, and it does tons of damage. But what people would do is they would tank LB3 it and just take all 8 together. Let's see what they do. So this mechanic was very rarely done. I never did that mechanic on content, actually. We always tank LB'd it on content, but since we've done it for prep, where we did the mechanic properly. And most of the mechanics are done now. There is another Panther Crater coming up soon. What they're going to do here is probably different from what was often done. What was often done is you would walk through the boss, and you would decide if you had to go left or right based on which way the boss cleaves go, which you'll see in a minute. But there are also range-baited huge puzzles, which is why there's somebody behind the group, and that person will need to go solo. So you see here, they're running into a situation because they're baiting it this way, and they're going to need to go back on themselves. They make it work, but running through the boss alleviates that. And then they do a stack, and then after this, the boss is going to do tank buster cleaves on both of the tanks. And then he's going to do the same range-baited line AoEs on 3 players sequentially on the backside. I'm not even gonna bullshit. This fight is brute justice too. Here, you'll need to do close or far based on the type of resonance. So you either pull them together or pull them away from each other. And you'll need to do so based on the constraints of there being an orb. So, sorry, an orb, an eye. So you see the eye here? The eye soon is going to do another cleave, which means you either need to pull them together 90 degrees to the west of it, or you'll need to split them here and then on the right side so that you're on the opposite side of the arena, but still spread. And then this mechanic, the bosses are going to dash to these players in sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 2 colors, and it dictates each of the bosses. So the blue one, I think, is M, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the purple one, I think, is F, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't remember which one is which, but it doesn't really matter. And you want the dashes to be as far away as possible. So if you're 1, you're going to go far. And if you're 3, you're also going to go far. If you're 2 and 4, you'll go close, because the boss will dash, then back, then dash, then back. You don't want to get hit twice, and you don't want to hit anyone else. So this guy takes the kick. They spread out to make sure that only one person takes the kick. Now he cannot participate in the next mechanic. Everyone else takes a stack. Then everybody is going to spread out for the fire, and then they're going to go into the guy. You from Australia? No, I'm English. And then raid wide. There's a few more of these. There's like 1 or 2 more. They're going to go into the guy, yeah. When you're the guy and they go into you. If we were talking about me doing this fight week 1, I probably would have put it at it's okay tier. But I don't think it's okay tier. I think it's better than that. I think it's either good or great. It's definitely not brute justice, but it's either good or great. I think it's great. I think I like it a lot more than I did on content. Unlike Midgardsomr, where it hasn't grown on me, this one has grown on me. I enjoyed this fight quite a bit. It's a very interesting showcase of current FF14 style of design, but made 8 years ago. I think the issue that I had with Final Omega on content is that this fight can be boiled down to 2 mechanics. Can you do Hello World 1? Yes or no? And can you do Hello World 2? Yes or no? There are others, but they all happen so early that you learn them quickly, and there are many nothing mechanics in this fight, so I didn't really like it on release. I thought it was kind of boring. And to put it into context, this was before I did Hardcore Prog, right? I was in an evening group at this time. We went from Hello World 2 to Enrage in 1 pull, because it's all just repeats and easy mechanics. Hello World 2 happens at halfway. First of all, there's patch. Players are going to get close and far tethers. When you fail the close and far, it snaps the tether and pops for damage and a short vulnerability, and you need to snap all of the tethers before the end of the mechanic when Ion of Flux happens. But there'll be other stuff happening at the same time. You have a timer here, see, like 25. There'll be other stuff happening at the same time. The first thing are these glowing balls. You can get them on the sides, which mean go sides, or you can get them on the front back, which means go front back. The boss will do big cleaves everywhere except where those balls are. And at the same time, you're snapping tethers. Then they're going to do monitors. So right side is safe for the rest of the group. The 2 tanks go left side and spread to take a buster. And you're still snapping these one by one. These are going to rotate. So this one is going to shoot here. And then because the arrows are going this way, it's going to shoot like this. Bam, 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 bam. This one will do the same. Bam, 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 bam. This one's going the other way. There will be 1 pizza slice that's safe. Find it, forehead. It's a follow the leader mechanic. If one person can do it, everybody can. And then all of this is just kind of nothing. Even this mechanic coming up is a nothing mechanic. And then we're going to have patch again soon. So a mechanic you have already done. Where is it? Where is it? Here's patch going off. Mechanic you have already done. Archive all is something new. So there's a bunch of arms around here. The boss is going to jump to one end based on this rotation. And you're going to want to find the side the boss doesn't jump to. And you're going to want to find the arm that is behind its rotation of its beam. And then you kill this arm because you need a safe space. Because the arms will detonate after a period. So they found the safe spot. It's not very interesting. It's the kind of puzzle I don't like in FF14. Where the execution doesn't feel good at all. It is only solution-based. Whereas I think that puzzles in this game can be really good if they are fun to both do and solve, but sometimes they miss that mark, and I really think they missed that mark with Final Omega. Maybe I'm just a hater. I genuinely think the music is the best part about Final Omega. I don't think it's a bad fight, but I don't think it's a good one. Which I think is probably a controversial opinion. Which is a shame, because music and thematics, incredible. But I just think the fight is so laden on Hello World, which isn't a fun mechanic to do in the first place. If you didn't have Hello World, you wouldn't remember any of this fight, aside from the OST. And all of this here is just a complete repeat. This is all repeats until like here-ish, even past here. Up until here, it's repeats. And then the boss will go into the middle, it'll cast Program Omega, and it'll do lots of raid wides. It'll do small raid wide, small raid wide, small raid wide, big raid wide, like that. You see, bang, 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 bang. 5 small ones into a big one. And it'll do that until Enrage. You got Hello World 1, you got Hello World 2, you got Patch, which is the first mechanic in the fight, and then you got a few nothings in between. That's the problem with O12S P2. So much of it is uninteresting, and even Hello World is not, in my opinion, very fun to do. It hits really hard, don't get me wrong. It is a pretty damn in numbers check. The DPS check isn't particularly tight, but it hits really hard, and there are lots of tank busters. So it is interesting to do as a tank and a healer. And there's also a layer of RNG to the tanking, which I like, because the debuffs applying to you, meaning that the other tank has to block for you and take the wild charge using cooldowns, means that sometimes you have to shift your cooldowns around a bit. I like that. But mechanically, I just don't think it's great. I think it has to go in good. It can't be great. I'm actually a bit surprised that I ranked M&F higher. So we end Omega with, just like Alex, 2 fights in the top tier. This is God Kefka. God Kefka and Omega. And Omega is partly there for vibes, I think. I think this fight's so cool. I love the music. I think it's so fun to do. It's a vibe-based victory for Omega. Then in It's Great, there's a lot of entries. There's Halicarnassus, there's Kefka Doorboss, there's Chaos, and there's M&F. In It's Good, we have both of the Exdeath entries. Phantom Train, Guardian, and Omega. In It's Okay, we have Catastrophe, O6S, and Midgardsomr. And in horrible shit tier, we have Alte Roite. And I can spoil one thing for you about Eden, because I know this for a fact. We will be gaining another entry in Skip It in Weeklies tier from Eden. At least one, because I know one that would go there already. There is one fight on Eden that I hate. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do consider supporting my Patreon or becoming a YouTube member like these fine folk, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.